Welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia. I am your host and a wedding photographer based in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. This week we've been celebrating 1 whole year of the podcast and I've been releasing multiple episodes. This is the final one for the week and then we'll be back to regular programming every Tuesday morning with a new episode. If you're listening to this when it comes out, you still have a chance to enter our giveaways for another week until August 11th, so make sure you head to Instagram and enter them now. On this episode I have a lovely chat with Rosa. You may recognize her as one of the 2 Raw sisters, the business that she has with her sister Margot. I love following along what they are up to. So many yummy, healthy recipes. They have released cookbooks, they do workshops, they have a new podcast, which I've been loving listening to. They have an app and just so many exciting things going on in their world. So make sure you go and check them out. I will tag their Instagram and everything here as well. We chat through Rosa's love story, a very sweet farm proposal, planning their beautiful Lake Hawea wedding, how hard it was to narrow down the guest list, and so much amazing advice. This chat was recorded a little while ago before her exciting pregnancy announcement, which I know that she also told her close people on her wedding day, which is a really cool part of the story that I think they talked through on their podcast. So I'll direct you to go and listen to that one afterward because that's another cool story and just a really fun way to surprise their loved ones. This is one of those absolutely stunning weddings showing off the best of New Zealand scenery. So make sure you go onto Instagram and check out some photos as well. Really enjoyed this chat and I know you will too. So enjoy episode 56 with Rosa. Hi Rosa, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today. So excited to chat all about your wedding experience.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be on.
So good. So to get started with, if you could just tell me a bit about you and your partner, how you guys met and your life together.
Well, Rupert and we met about 3.5 years ago. Through one of our really good friends. So one of my best friends, who was actually one of my bridesmaids, Millie, flattered with Rupert and was really great friends with Rupert. And through that, Rupert and I then met each other. But it was kind of like when you know moment. And at the time I was living in Christchurch and Rupert was working down south in Timaru. So we were doing the long distance thing for a bit, which was interesting. I was the one that had to always be going down to Timaru, it seemed to be, because he always had rugby or something on. But our relationship evolved pretty quickly. We got a farming opportunity down in South Canterbury and Rupert wanted to take that, and it was me who had to really make the decision on did I want to move down south. And obviously we really got on well and loved each other, and it was a big step for a young couple. And once we moved on the farm, our relationship went from strength to strength, and it was really great having some sort of project together that was both of ours, and we both had a passion for it. And we're both very driven people, and we always like a challenge. So having something there for us both was really good for us. And a year and a half after we moved on the farm, he ended up proposing to me on the farm. So, and we're still here. But we're very, very similar people.
Awesome. That leads in well to my next question about your proposal story. Can you tell us how that all went down?
Yeah, of course. My sister and I were up in Auckland for work, maybe 3-4 months beforehand, and we always talk about weddings, and it's always like a dream of ours. And we had a spare couple of hours, and we were like, why don't we go ring shopping? So we went into a couple of jewelers and tried on some rings, and I got home and showed him 3 rings I really liked, thinking in my head, this is not going to happen anytime soon, but why not show him? And showed him, and then he told me, obviously this is post proposal, that he ordered one of the rings the next day. So we didn't muck around. Um, and then, yeah, by the time it got made, yeah, it was 3 or 4 months, and we were just at home. It was a Saturday, it was Anzac weekend, and we were being on a farm, there's always plenty to do. So he was out in the morning moving animals, and I was doing some things in the garden and the kitchen, and we were having lunch, and he said, "Oh, can you come and help me up the back of the farm?" Classic farmer boy, um, asking for some help up the back of the farm. And I was like, "Yeah, sure, sure." And anyway, he said, I'm going to be 30 minutes, and then after 30 minutes, I'll come and get you." And within those 30 minutes, on the side of the Bailage, which is at the top of the farm, it's got this amazing view looking over the sea, which is my favourite spot on the farm. And Bailage, if you don't know what it is, it's feed for the animals, and it's all wrapped up in a big long line. And he put in black tape, "Will you marry me?" question mark. And that's what he was doing in those 30 minutes, and came back down and got me. And I hopped on the motorbike and we drove up. And I was like, "Oh, how long are we going to be? Like, I've got stuff to do." And kind of didn't really want to go. And he ended up driving into this paddock to pick up a standard that he said he had left in the paddock. And I was thinking, this is really weird that you left a standard in the middle of the paddock. And then I said, I'll drive. So I took over the motorbike and drove, and he was sitting behind. And I ended up actually driving straight past this "Will you marry me?" And he was thinking, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing?" And I was looking at the view and saying, "Look at the view, isn't it amazing?" And then, yeah, after about 30 seconds or so, he said, "Turn to your left." And then there was "Will you marry me?" And my first comment to him was, "Fuck off." Because I was like, so just, what the hell? This was not something I was expecting right now. And yeah, he got down on one knee and proposed with one of the rings that I suggested to him 3 months earlier. And it was quite cool because my parents, who were in Christchurch, we'd organised like a month or so ago that they were coming to stay at the farm for the weekend. So mum and dad ended up coming later on this afternoon, and we had a nice celebration with them that night.
What a cute story on the farm, and you definitely got the surprise factor there.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely got the surprise factor. He was letting off no hints, that's for sure.
Yeah, no mucking around ordering the ring straight away.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
great.
Gosh, and then he picked up the ring on the Friday and proposed on the Saturday, so he didn't want to hold the ring for very long either.
Oh, so good. So you talked about kind of loving weddings and dreaming about them a bit. Did you sort of have a vision in your mind of what you wanted for your own wedding, and yeah, the kind of style and vibe, and yeah, what were those sort of first steps, like choosing a venue or location, all of that?
Yeah, well, I do a lot of event planning within our business, so I love like organizing. I'm a control freak, and I just love all that detail stuff. And from the get go, it was pretty much me being in control of all of that. But Rupert and we're very big on creating an experience and having something that's really unique to both of us and what's special to us. So one of our first things that we did was sit down and together as a couple, and talk about what would you like at your dream wedding. And one of those things was the boat, and also being by the lake, which is a really special place for us, and being down south, which is where Rupert's from and where I've spent a lot of my childhood. Also, the photographer Susie that we had, she is really close with me, and she's done a lot of our cookbooks, so she was a big part of the day as well. So yeah, there were lots of little things that we really wanted to nail and put down on paper first, and then go from there and explore venues and um dresses and caterers, and food for us was obviously a big part of the day as well. So yeah, the whole process at the start, it's quite overwhelming. I'd never, obviously, when you dream about it, you just kind of save photos on Instagram, but when it actually happens, it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to go through all the different caterers, and I've got to go through all the different providers for like obviously depending on whether you want a marquee or you want a venue wedding, or do you want a walk and fork, or do you want a sit down. And for us, I suppose we chose walk and fork over sit down. So we love talking to people, we love mixing and mingling, and all of our special guests that were with us on the day, we wanted to make sure we got around every single one of them, and it wasn't all super rushed and it was like a high buy situation. That's one of our main reasons why we chose the walk and fork, and just to create a bit more of a relaxed feeling. So we had a whole lot of outdoor furniture, lounge sets that people could sit on and just kind of relax on, and wasn't like a time where everyone had to be seated, and then dinner was served, and then it was speeches. So yeah, something I was nervous about, because I'd only been to 3 other weddings before, and none of them being a walk and fork. So that was a bit of a gamble, but we ended up absolutely loving it, and had lots of comments from our guests being like, that was my first wedding where it had been a walk and fork, and I really loved it.
Definitely makes sense that food was a big priority for you with your business, and imagine just like finding the right caterer for the job. But yeah, you've mentioned a few things there, but was there anything else that was like your sort of top priorities, most important elements for the day?
I think for us as well, I briefly said at the start, like the uniqueness of it. And I feel sometimes, with venues, there's so many beautiful venues out there, but sometimes you might go to a wedding at a venue 4 times type of thing, especially down south. It's such a popular place for a wedding. So we really wanted to go somewhere that, a lot of our guests had never been to before. And that's where we kind of ended up at Lake Hawea Station. They hold 7 or so weddings a year. I'm pretty sure there was like a handful of people who had only been down that side of the lake before, of Lake Hāwea. So it was a really cool experience for a lot of people, like from the drive out to the lake, and then arriving in the bus, and then walking down to the lake and having this amazing view right on the beach, and then walking up to the main area. That it was all a surprise the whole day, which was really cool. And I loved that, and I loved that unknown for people.
So cool. Sounds like you're super thoughtful with creating an experience, and a little getaway for your guests as well. It looks so stunning in your photos.
I'm like, what do I do with my evenings now? I don't have to plan a wedding.
Definitely takes over your life a bit in that era.
Yeah.
And can you tell me a bit about your wedding outfits, your dress, finding it, getting it made? How was that whole process?
Yeah, I had such an amazing experience with my dress and the process of it. I worked with Alice from Hayes Bridal. She was amazing. I was never into like a full on like gown dress. I wanted something that was really simple, comfortable. I hate not feeling comfortable. If something like, and I wanted to eat all the delicious food that was being served at the wedding, and not feel like I felt stuck in my dress. And I wanted to be able to dance in it and have a great time. And I came across Alice, and her dresses are just so simplistic but so stunning at the same time. And very I really loved working with her, because she takes you right through the whole process. She's the one that designs them from the start. She takes you through the fittings and gives you ideas on what works with your body, and then she does all the alterations, and she does all the the catch ups with you with the dress and the fittings prior to the wedding, and delivers it to you. And yeah, she was just a very lovely lady to work with. So I had a very low back on my wedding dress, spaghetti straps. It wasn't, again, there was not a lot of fabric on it. I just didn't, I wanted to be able to walk around freely. I had a nice wee like button tie thing that clipped up at the back after the ceremony, which was really handy. And then I had just a really simple veil, and that was it. But yeah, I wore the same dress obviously the whole day. That was my idea. If I'm going to spend a decent amount of money on a dress, I want to be able to enjoy wearing it the whole day. And then Rupert, or my bridesmaids, were all white. Again, I love that simplistic clean look, especially with the amazing backdrops that we had for the wedding. And then Rupert and his groomsmen were black and white, which we were actually thinking at the start maybe like a coloured suit, but we were so happy we went black and white. It was just again such a clean look that looked amazing in the backdrop and the boats, with the mountains in the background, the hills. So yeah, we were again like super happy with all of the choices we made with the outfits.
So good. Yeah, it definitely came together well and sounds like an amazing experience you had with Alice. Yeah, so beautiful, just keeping it like nice and timeless and simple dress, and yeah, especially with that scenery, letting that shine.
Yeah, again, nothing I would change about my dress. It was everything I'd hoped and dreamed that it would be, which was so nice.
And who was in your bridal party? Did you find that quite an easy process choosing them?
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like for me, like everyone who comes to my wedding or Rupert and my wedding, like they're all so special to us. But obviously, you always have your close girlfriends who, you contact all the time. And I find again, it's funny in terms of like when you get married, like friends change all the time, and you talk to a person a lot more than you potentially did 5 years ago, but they end up being your bridesmaid because you're someone who you just can't not chat and have daily updates. So I had my sister Margot. She was my maid of honor, which was a non-negotiable. um, and then I had my cousin Kate Todd. So Kate is older than me, and obviously known each other all our lives, and our mums are sisters, and they just really value Kate as a person, and she's very special to me, and we chat about everything and anything, and know we've got each other's back. So it was cool to have her up there with me. And then I had another childhood friend, Millie O'Neill, someone who I talk to pretty much every day. Both living on farms, so like we're very relatable. And then Millie Morgan, who was my friend who put Rupert and I in touch. So again, Millie's very special to me and someone who I talk to, majority of the time, well, most days, and have a lot in common. So yeah, I was very stoked with my girls that I had up there, and we had such a fun time in the lead up to the wedding, and the day before and the night before, and yeah, it was cool, very special.
Sounds like a lovely group.
I put on a hell of a hen stew for me too.
Oh, I bet. What did you do for your hens?
It was actually really nice. Again, I was like, I don't want a whole lot of tacky games and like just plastic
Penis
stuff. I'm not really
everything.
into that. So yeah, so all my bridesmaids actually, apart from Margot, don't live where I live. The rest of them are in the North Island. So they all flew down on the Friday, and we had a night together, which was really special. And we went out and had a really lovely dinner and had a chill night, and then we actually started our morning at Hit Squad, which is just like an exercise group class thing in Christchurch. Went out for coffee, and then they ended up blindfolding me and taking me out to our parents, where we did like a big long lunch, and we ended up having a stripper there and lots of drinks and lots of laughs, and yeah, it was such a great time.
How about your guest list? How many guests did you end up having, and was that a difficult process narrowing them down?
Yes, I underestimated that big time, and we had 135, and I was like, oh, easy, 135. That's so many people. Yeah, you kind of start, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And obviously, family, like I've got quite a big family, and I'm super close with all of my family, so that was like a non-negotiable, having them on the guest list. And then Rupert's got a slightly smaller family, but then obviously we want to make it fair. So his parents had some friends, and mum and dad had some friends as well that we were also close with, and then our friends. And I suppose for Rupert and I, we've got lots of different friends all around the country that we absolutely love. So it was making sure we had all those different groups of friends, but then all of a sudden you're at 180 people and you're like, oh my gosh, we can't have 180 budget wise and with the venue that we have. So yeah, we did a lot of back and forth, but I think it's what I really what I was glad that we did. I was glad that we started the guest list early so we had time to really think about it. And one of the things that we always referred back to was, would we go away for a weekend with them? Would we invite them to go to Wanaka to go jet boating or go to the beach or whatever? And that was kind of our thing. And if we said, oh no, we wouldn't, then yeah. But it's hard, and I never ever want people to think like because they weren't invited to the wedding that they're not our friend. Like that's so not the case. Like there's so many people we love and love hanging out with, but yeah, you unfortunately do have to draw the line somewhere, and it's not letting it get to you and not making you feel bad about it either.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough process, and you hope
Yeah.
people that are your friends and family understand. And yeah, weddings are so expensive, and yeah, you can't invite everyone, unfortunately. But yeah, that sounds like a nice number.
I think also like when you're before we were engaged, I had talked about wedding lists before and who I would have, and I think until you're actually in it, that's when it's really hard. Yeah, it's that guilt feeling of not letting anyone down. That's the really hard thing. And yeah, you say, oh, I'm going to be really cutthroat and it's going to be easy. And if, we haven't seen them in the last month, then they're definitely not on the list. But when you actually get to it, it's like, oh, but we haven't seen them in the last month because we live on two separate islands. Yeah, top tip to start early so you can mull
Yeah, that's
over it
great
and talk about
advice.
it.
Yeah, for sure. And can you tell us a bit about the big day, how it all went down, and any highlights or favorite moments?
Us, all the girls were staying at the lake house, which is on Lake Hawea Station. It's this really beautiful house that overlooks the lake. It's about 5 minutes from the venue. And then the boys were staying at John, one of Rupert's groomsmen's house in Wanaka. So we obviously both had our mornings, and the boys ended up going fishing. And obviously for the girls, I again underestimated how long hair and makeup took. It's a full morning of it, and it can get a bit hard when you're just waiting. And being the bride, you're the last quite often. But it was the most stunning morning. Like the lake was flat right from the beginning of the day, and the views and everything. And it was just getting really excited. And the boys arrived in the jet boats, which was I unfortunately obviously didn't get to see it, but saw photos. But everyone was saying how amazing that was. All the guests had arrived by then, and they were right on the beach where the ceremony was, and the boys rocked up on the boats and did a wee whirl around on the lake. And then we drove to the venue, to the Hyde. And for me, one of the big highlights was definitely walking down the aisle. I think that was something that was always I was running it through in my head all the time. Like, how's it gonna go? And walking down the aisle with Dad and seeing Rupert, and we had our wee nieces as our flower girls, which was really special as well. And just having all of these amazing guests here, looking out to them, and then all of our best mates by our side, like that was really awesome. Another highlight, so from the ceremony, we then all went up to the main reception area, which is, I don't know, like a 300-meter walk, and bubbles were flowing, and the canapes had started, and we had music going, and everyone just relaxed, and we got a chance to really say hi to the guests and chat to them for a bit, which was really good. I think that was a big thing for us, that we didn't want to have to then rush and have photos. So I was really happy that we made the time to do that and see everyone before we went and had photos. And then went and had photos, and that was fun. We took a box of delicious food down to the lake, and Rupert and I went out in the boat and with Suze, and the others waited round, and then we had photos with our bridal party. Again, lots of fun. It's quite nice having that time with your bridal party, but that's where it seems to get very loose. Everyone gets it was a hot day, and when the drinks start flowing and everything else in between, it can be a bit dangerous, but lots of fun. Um, and then it's kind of flowed into speeches, and we had two lots of speeches throughout the evening, which was really nice, breaking it up. And the speeches were awesome. It was so great. Like, we were just, all the photos, we were just laughing and smiling and having a great time. And then I'm always a big dance floor person. I wanted every single person to be on the dance floor, and that's exactly what happened, which was great. We had a awesome band, which I actually got off a friend who had them at their wedding, and like everyone was on the dance floor the whole night having the best time ever, and they excelled again at our wedding, and we had a great first dance, and then danced the night away until midnight.
So good. Sounds like such an amazing day. Got the perfect weather that go out on the lake, and then I love that you were intentional with just like hanging out with your guests for a bit, not rushing around or making it too stressful of a day. That's so special.
Yeah, it was very cool. Yeah, that was one thing, because again, I'm like such a control freak, and I was really lucky to have a great friend, Georgia, who was my on the day coordinator, and she just helped me make sure things were flowing right. And obviously, we weren't, because of the walk and fork situation, we weren't like very tied down to like an exact schedule, which was nice. But it was just more, you've still got to be quite mindful of time as well, because it's amazing that time can just go like that. But it's one piece of advice I got was, which I highly recommend, is to just keep reminding yourself like where you are, the people around you, how special the day is, and just rather than being like, oh my gosh, the day just went by so fast, I don't even remember any of it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Just being really like present and in the moment. Yeah, super helpful having a on the day coordinator as well, so you don't have to worry about all those
I know,
little.
yeah, that's something I got highly, highly, highly recommended, especially if there's a few moving parts to your day. It just takes the stress away, and like being the bride, that's the last thing you want to be thinking about.
Totally. Yeah, definitely a key vendor that a lot of people recommend, but yeah, lifts a lot of just stress and little things off you. And what did you find the hardest part about the wedding planning process? Is there anything you look back on and regret or would do a bit differently?
Again, I think starting early and giving yourself the time. I am quite a creative person, and I really love exploring ideas and seeing what you think would work best for you, rather than just being like, oh, that one, that one, that one. And then that's kind of, I feel like when you get in a situation where you'll be like, oh, I wish I looked a little bit more into different types of caterers or different furniture. But I was, I felt very lucky, with like the companies that I worked with. They were all like great communicators, very easygoing. Like, everyone was there on time, everyone picked down on time. Like, it was all very straightforward, but it's also listening to different recommendations from other people, because it's so much easier, I feel, going into the wedding planning process knowing, you know, at least like a few different options that you can go down. Instagram's great for ideas as well. I did lots of saving of different reels and photos. But yeah, I think it's just allow yourself the time, because otherwise you just get stressed out. And yeah, Millie O'Neill, one of my bridesmaids, said to me, she'd been married a few years earlier, and she said just enjoy every moment of it, and allow yourself to enjoy the moments, because so many people can say, oh, I'm so stressed about the wedding, or I'm over it. And it's like, well, you ideally only get married once, and it's your time to have this amazing day that's all about you and your husband to be. So like, get creative and have fun with it. And it doesn't matter whether you've got a super low budget or a really high budget. I feel like if you've got those little special touches to your day that symbolize you too, it makes it a whole new experience for your guests as well. And it's just cool. I've just found it an exciting, fun process to be a part of.
Yeah, so good. That's great advice. Definitely something to focus on. And yeah, try and manage it so you don't get too stressed out.
Yeah, but no, there was nothing that I would like regret or do differently. I think starting like your run sheet early, and then you have time again to play around with it, because I feel like there's always, you get to the last month and you're like, you have people coming at you being like, oh, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And you're like, oh my gosh, no, I haven't thought of that. All those little things like, who's handing out the rose petals at the ceremony to the guests, and who's taking the chairs back up to the main reception area if that's something that you're doing. So, yeah.
If you're happy to talk about budget, did you have one? Yeah, how much did you end up spending? Did you sort of go over that, or yeah, you happy to talk about like a ballpark figure even?
I definitely underestimated the price of things. We were very fortunate to have our parents who helped us fund the wedding as well, which was helpful. But yeah, I always was like, oh, under $50,000, like that'll be easy, that'll be fine. But I'm someone who, I love quality. I don't like heaps of different things, but I love really high quality stuff. Just to, I don't know, that's something that I like. And so my big thing was getting fewer things, but getting them in a really high standard. Like we had a beautiful tent from Flagship, which was like amazing quality. And again, like the team were amazing to look to work with. And then Flock Events did our furniture, and again, their furniture is just so beautiful and such a nice range to choose from as well. Flowers were from Little Botanica, which again, like she does a beautiful job, amazing. And yeah, we didn't go down the route of like signage, just because it was going to add on to everything else. Obviously, doing the walk and fort, we didn't have to think about all the tables and chairs and the plates and the cutlery, menus. We ended up, obviously, I did a lot of the planning myself, so that was a good way to cut down on costs. Food, that was the biggest cost of the whole wedding. I mean, for me, food is such an important part of the whole day, and I was fine with spending that money on that. But there were obviously, like, there's things that you can look at doing yourself. Like my sister, we just did a few wee menus for the tables, which my sister designed up, and she designed up the bar menu as well. But yeah, it definitely adds up. Like it ended up being, I'd say, about 85. So it was, yeah, just under double of what I originally thought. And I thought that I didn't have a lot of things, but it was definitely the more expensive options. But then also, there's, especially where we were, it wasn't a venue, so we had to look at where to get generators in, we had to get toilets in, and like they were the things that I didn't essentially think about. And then there's alcohol on top of that too, and chiller trailers. And so, and again, that's where like the planning is such a great thing, because like before I even started, I obviously had my budget in mind, but then I, on a spreadsheet, kind of inquired with everything that I knew I needed based off the help from the venue and recommendations from other people who had actually had weddings there too, and what you needed. And then thought, well, like I've got to relook at this, because it's going to go over. But then also looking at, well, what can I take out and do myself that I don't need to go and spend another $1,000 on? But it's hard because, like, wedding bills are not like $200 here, $300 there. They're like a couple of thousand, 10,000, and those quickly add up.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, it's just figuring out your priorities, what you want to
Yeah,
spend more on. And then, yeah, food is
definitely the
like
big
the
thing.
thing people remember and always a big cost, but definitely worth it.
Yeah, start with your priorities first and then work back. And I got, my system ended up making our cake, and we made slices, and I even got like family friends who really wanted a job, and I got them to make some slices for the for later on in the night. So you can, that's where you can cut costs and do things like that. But I think you can still have such a beautiful day on a budget, you know less than what we did. I think again, it's just picking those priorities and then going from there.
And did you guys go on honeymoon straight away?
Yeah, we went on a honeymoon a couple of days after, because being on the farm, it's quite hard to get away, and we'd already been away leading up to the wedding. So we had a short, sharp honeymoon in Rarotonga, but it was actually, we had 3 nights, 4 days, but it actually ended up being a really good amount of time because having been away, we're quite homebodies, and having been away before the wedding, for the wedding, popped home, quickly packed our bags, went to Christchurch, flew out, had our relaxation time, and then yeah, by the time that ended, we were like, oh, we're actually ready to get back into life and everyday everyday jobs. What yeah, so it was a nice amount of time, and I mean, yeah, for us it was we felt like it was really good for us to actually get away, or else we would have just got back into life and carried on with things. So it's nice to have that time to really reminisce. And we had some highlight photos to look through as well, which was special.
Sounds so nice. And you've mentioned a few, like Instagram's always amazing, things like that. But yeah, were there any helpful websites, apps, different resources that you use during the planning process?
Well, I actually listened to a couple of episodes of your podcast, but not Instagram was my main thing. There wasn't really any websites. I'd had a few people I knew who had got married, um, recently, so they were great to talk to. But I'm quite a independent person. I really like to kind of delve in and search the options myself. So a lot of the time, I just kind of either talk to people or just was randomly searching. It's amazing what pops up on your feed on Instagram.
Yeah, so good. And it sounds like you had a few industry connections or like new photographers, stuff like that as well. So that's super helpful. What advice would you give to couples that are planning their wedding at the moment?
It can be quite hard because the girls always tend to do quite a lot of the work, which I keep reminding myself to check in with Rupert and tell him what I've been up to, but then also you get used to being like, well, there's actually some things I don't need to tell them quite yet because it's Rupert couldn't quite understand why you have a photographer there for the whole time. He said, well, why don't you just have them there for 2 hours? I was like, oh, we don't need to even go down that track. But I think, yeah, the communication between you and your partner is quite crucial because it's hard for the guys sometimes because the planning is majority of the girl in majority of situations, and it's making them feel like they're involved and making sure you're getting their opinion and their thoughts and feelings about different scenarios and situations that you can go ahead with. And yeah, I think, and also with the guest list as well, it's talking to each other, making sure you're both happy, and there are friends that they have that you don't necessarily know quite well, that not don't know as well, that they really want to be at the day, and then you've obviously got friends that you want to be there as well. So yeah, comms was huge for us. Yeah, just that time thing. I think really allowing yourself time to get creative and think about different options so that you don't get closer to the time you're like, oh, I wish I'd delved into that a little bit more. I'm regretting getting this caterer on board. I'm going to change in the last minute. And then quite often that's really not possible because everything needs to be booked so far in advance. What else would there's so many things. Talking to friends is another big one who've had been married. I think that's they've been through it all before, and it's just nice having that reassurance that they've been through it. You can, like, my sister-in-law gave me like all the things she wished she did, and all the things she did that like absolutely were a game changer for the day, and that was like so helpful for me. There were so many things that I didn't even think about. So if you have a friend that's getting married and you've just got married, like, send them a list like that. I've got a friend getting married at the end of the year, and like we've had so many catch ups where I'm just like, this is what happened. These are the things I wish I did. Here's my run sheet, like, just so you have an idea of how the day works and all the little things that you forget about. But yeah, I think just enjoying the process because it goes by so fast, and before you know it, you're married and life moves on. So enjoy the moment. Don't stress about things. Just see it as a fun project and a time to get creative and make your day as special as you possibly can.
That's such great advice. Yeah, nothing like first-hand experience, just chatting to friends who have been there before as well. Super helpful. And what is married life like now? I don't know if anything really changes. Do you feel like it did? And yeah, did you get any of those post-wedding blues?
I didn't get like really bad post-wedding blues. I think I just loved the whole process and I loved the day, and it was everything like we possibly could have dreamt of. And I suppose it's more like we look at photos and we're like, oh my gosh, that was so amazing, like take me back. But we're so content with how it all went that, when we didn't really go through that wedding blues. But yeah, again, that's why it's so important just to really enjoy every moment of it, because it just goes like that. But yeah, married life, it's pretty same. As a lot of people were telling me, like before, they're like, oh, it's nothing much changes. Like, we're kind of going through that process now. Like, we've just got our full gallery, so we're just reliving the whole moment again. That's like 3 months post wedding, so that's really nice to go through that and choose photos that we want to get printed and get framed. But yeah, I think it's just keep reminding yourself of how amazing the day was, and you know that you are married, and it's not making life boring. It's just like keeping things exciting, and we've got lots of exciting projects happening, um, as a as a husband and wife, which is really cool, and it kind of keeps us moving forward, which is really nice.
Do you do anything in the wedding space with two raw sisters?
No, we don't. It's kind of like it's yeah, I think it's quite a like hectic industry, isn't it? Like it's in and out, and there's so many weddings that happen in like a certain time of year. No, we don't. We used to do catering at Two Real Sisters, and my thing was I'm never getting into the wedding scene because there's so much pressure with brides, and like there's normally big numbers and to think about. So yeah, I'm just happy that I've experienced it and I had an amazing time. And I had there's amazing people out there who help you, in the lead up to the wedding, on the day of the wedding, and it was such a cool industry to be a part of. But yeah, happy to also move on.
So good. I love following you guys. And yeah, we'll obviously tag everything in for you to go and check out, because I know a lot of brides especially kind of want to like get in their best shape for their wedding or whatever, but I feel like your stuff is yeah, a really like healthy and not toxic way to do it, like some amazing recipes
in a healthy, sustainable way. Oh, yeah, no, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Go and check them out. But yeah, so lovely to talk to you today. Is there anything else you want to add as we wrap up?
No, I think I've said all my points. Yeah, as I said, just enjoy it, have fun. Yeah, there's so many cool ideas that you can do and places that you can get married, and it's just choosing what you feels best for you and your husband to be.
So good. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lydia. Lovely to chat.